I'd like to show you why knowing your why is the start of your journey. Without a strong why, it can be so difficult to reach your maximum potential. My name is Dr. Jason Balara, and every week I meet with real estate investors and mindset specialists that are taking action in order to build a life according to their own terms. We will break down what drives successful people and allows them to achieve at such a high level. If you are a professional wanting to break through, or simply someone that wants to hear an inspiring story, the Know Your Why podcast is made for you. Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today, I'm here with Kranti Ponnam. Kranti has a tech and real estate background with over 2,000 units. Kranti, I'm gonna first of all say thank you for coming on the show. I'm really appreciated to have you here today, and I will let you give us your background, tell us your story, and we'll kind of take it from there.
Sure. Hey, Jason, thank you. So glad to be on the show today. Hey, for all the listeners, I'm Kranti Ponnam. I was originally born in India, but 20 years ago, I was fortunate enough to come here to do my master's degree. Went into tech consulting after my master's, traveled quite a bit during that time. Actually got burnt out with the travel and finally zeroed in to live in sunny San Diego. And if you ever been here, you know why I never left.
Yeah. Southern California will get you. There's no, it's hard to leave that weather.
That's true. Today, I'm a tech and real estate entrepreneur, own and run 5 different tech companies, 3 of them active, 2 passive, which is nice because 3 are planning to be active in. On the real estate side, I'm a partner in Four Oaks Capital, which is a real estate syndication company with assets primarily in Southeast, focused on the Carolinas, the Atlanta, Georgia markets. I also have an independent real estate portfolio under the umbrella called Seroda Capital, which has investments in multifamily, office, and retail. So,
okay, fantastic. That's, very, very diversified and impressive. Well, let's start with the tech background, because I find that whatever people's backstory has a lot to do with, kind of where they end up a lot of times in the real estate space. Sometimes we may think it's not applicable or not related, but often it is. What specifically is your tech background? You said you have 5 companies now, which is kind of amazing. So it seems like you've got a lot going on, which I think I think would be great to talk about kind of how you manage all of that. But tell us a little bit about the tech side of things for you.
Sure. So the tech companies range from different kinds of services, primarily in CRM and middleware software that deal with Salesforce, MuleSoft, and on the reporting side. So all this stuff is pretty techy, but my personal background started when I was a kid with real estate being in my family, with my dad being a land developer. Went into engineering schools and obviously graduated, but always knew that whatever I did with the technology side, I would always have a career with real estate. But to answer your question on the tech side, right, really in terms of when I first got out of school, did a lot of consulting work on the technology side, went to a ton of different clients and actually learned a lot during a very short time period. I figured I was pretty good at what I was doing, and I started my first company. And my boss, who was at the time the owner of the small tech company that we worked, didn't want to let me go, and he was like, "I will invest in your company and let me come in as a partner." When I told him the proposal to leave, and I was like, "Great," gives me the guidance and a coach or a mentor. And we first started off, we hit it off, we sold that company, moved on. And, when I moved to San Diego, I actually started my own technology firm, which kind of morphed into the other ones with different areas of technology. We like to keep it very specialized and niche in one area. So we kind of branded different companies to serve different technology areas.
Yeah. No, that's great. And I like, I'm glad you kind of got that background from your father being a land developer, because
it does often seem like there's, we maybe maybe get away from it a little bit, but then, it kind of comes back to what family did. A lot of times people, have some, parent or uncle or whatever it is that had something in the real estate space. So you said that you kind of always knew you'd come back to real estate, but tell us about that evolution. Like, when did it happen? What did you, kind of, how did you get back? How did you get started into it?
So this started in 2008. I was still in the tech world, really running my company, but wanted to start investing. Was not a big fan of stock market ever. I've never been with an investor heavily into stock market. I still have a stock portfolio and all of that. So I then went on to start buying houses. I didn't know anything. I had no coaching, no one to tell me what to do or what not to do. So as a natural first step, I began acquiring single family apartment condos back in Chicago. That's where I was started investing. Got really burned. I had HOA issues, tenant issues, and I was like, this is not what I really want to be doing, because I don't see how I can scale. And from a business mindset, you always want to start thinking of doing things that you ultimately can scale, grow, build systems, build processes around it. I just didn't see that as a possibility with that strategy. So went and kind of flipped it, went on to buy retail strip centers, few larger, few smaller of them, a few small, and then focus predominantly in Tucson, Arizona market. I started living in California, but started investing in Tucson, Arizona, because so many frustrations with California investing. Your dollar goes much further there. The cost is to get into like secondary, tertiary markets is much easier. Lots of opportunities. So started doing that, and then realized retail has great cash flow. I mean, I absolutely loved it. I still think it's a great asset class if you really know what you're doing, but did not see the appreciation that we've seen in the last 2 years, even in retail, but now did not see that appreciation. I realized if I wanted both cash flow and appreciation, I needed to start looking into multifamily, right? Which kind of provided me the best of both worlds solution. It was a natural segue to enter into multifamily investing.
So. Yeah, makes total sense. When did you decide to do that? And actually, before I answer that question, I think the fact that you started out with single family houses and condos, it's common, right? It's common what people do. They start there, and then once you realize that that's not easily scalable, it's common to then kind of flip over to commercial real estate. So I think that path is something that most people that want to be serious investors realize, like, hey, I'm burning myself out. I'm more, it's just more and more of a job to have more and more houses. When did you make the switch to multifamily?
So I started investing as an LP many years ago. I think about 5, 6, or 7 years ago. I started getting into limited partnership deals. That's where I first started. Honestly, it was more of a personal venture for me, multifamily investing. I did not go out to syndicate deals or do anything. I wanted to learn. So my main goal was to build a portfolio for myself. I always loved real estate, obviously due to my background. But when I started investing in other deals and saw what their returns looked like compared to the stock market and the 401ks that we had as part of our companies, I got intrigued. I wanted to learn a lot more. I started attending seminars, restarted reading books. I felt that I could actually help other people reach their financial goals faster and actually create an impact on their lives, which is very important for me to take care of my employees, people who are working for us or people who are associated with us. And that's how, I met Four Oaks Capital, the team that at Four Oaks Capital, as an LP in all of their deals, and then became their partner. I never believe and that comes from my business learnings, that if you have an abundant mindset, and I never believe or in any interaction, never look for what am I getting out of this? Like I've always focused on how can I be a resource? How can I serve? And that's how, we started talking. And then there were needs on the capital raising side and on the, debt side that they needed help. And, that's how I became a partner. And, it's been a great journey ever since. And we've really done very well in the last 5 years. Hit all our projections and actually return money to investors in a very short frame of time, and basically gave them what we said we'd give in 5 years in less than 2, thanks to the market.
Yeah. The market has certainly helped, but I mean, you also still have to buy them right, manage them right, and all of that. So yeah, that's great. So is that your main focus on the capital raising side? Is that kind of the seat that you tend to sit in?
Yes, that's the main focus on the capital raising side from a syndication standpoint. But for my personal portfolio, I have a little over 400 units right now spread in Georgia and South Carolina. I also look over the asset management piece a little bit.
Yeah.
We have property managers, but obviously managing them and all that. So I have a full gamut of experience, right, from capital raising for syndicated deals, and then all across debt, how debt works for my personal. And I've seen, that's probably the most powerful lesson that I've learned through my investing experience, how to leverage and how to use the right kind of debt, and how good debt can be a great thing compared to bad debt. So
yeah, I agree with that 100%. That's been probably the most sort of eye-opening thing about it, is just learning, first of all the different debt products that are available, but just the power of it, using it to your advantage, using leverage to your advantage. It's a very, very strong thing. So when I wanted to kind of talk about what connections do you find from your tech background into your real estate investing? Are you using any of that? Is there crossover to you? Do you feel like what sort of tech solutions do you use on the real estate side?
Great question. I think as far as crossover, I think both are businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And both of them have issues, processes, and problems. So all of them come with a wrinkle of their own kind. Obviously, the tech business has the same thing. We need to have a CRM system. We need to have we need to know how to, and on this side, we need to know how to get in touch with brokers, which needs a platform, right? So there's been a lot of similarities, not one. And when you view them as a business, you can actually draw a lot of parallels in how you could approach it, how you can scale, how you can build mechanisms to actually help with leasing, for example. We actually have our in-house marketing team that markets all our properties, helps with leasing on the properties. That frees a lot of the on-site staff time, right? Mm-hmm. But that'll also, we will build the cost back to the properties, but that's a very small cost when you look at the amount of resources a traditional company would have spent on leasing and on marketing. We've been able to leverage what we learned on the tech side significantly for marketing efforts. What we learned on the tech side with how we could outsource some of the work that we could leverage here. We use offshore resources for a number of different things, and that has helped us kind of do the same thing here with leasing and marketing and the back end operations from a payroll or accounting and things like that, where we self-manage some of the assets that we have, especially on Four Oaks side. And that has really helped from that perspective. And when you really approach it, and that's what I've seen with other syndicators, is I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing to do this part-time, but when you do it part-time or full-time, really approach it as a business. Yeah. Where you're using latest tools, technologies. For example, we use Asana for our property management. We don't really use a lot of email. We use Asana to track things. Everything is tracked through Asana. We integrate Asana with Slack from a communication standpoint. So we're not waiting a whole week for a property manager call to give us an update on certain things. And every property management call, we're actually noting issues on Asana for us to kind of trigger for us to play back. It doesn't have to be Asana. It can be a Word document, but if you don't have that business outlook towards running these for people who are coming into syndication, it becomes very difficult for them not to think that way. If you don't think that way, you're not going to be successful, and you're not going to be helping your investors with returns.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, getting those systems in place are vitally important. And I think, you're 100% right. It's at the end of the day, you're running a business. Each property essentially is its own business. And so having some system, whether it's Asana or what, but something that tells you, kind of what's going on in real time. Mm-hmm. That way you don't, if you have your property management meeting every Monday and there's a problem on Tuesday, you don't find out about it the following Monday, right? You're able to kind of be proactive and on top of it along the way. So I think that's a really great point. Any other, kind of tech solutions that you find are helpful in your business?
Sure. We use ActiveCampaign. We use AppFolio integrated with ActiveCampaign. ActiveCampaign keeps you're able to push investor updates. We use ActiveCampaign for all the marketing efforts. And then obviously the AppFolio system is our property management system that helps with, again, there's a ton of work that happens with the integrations from AppFolio reporting into our Google Sheets, where our Monday morning meetings, property management meetings, have been automated to draw information for our management dashboard into Google Sheets. So those are the systems that we use, and it doesn't necessarily need a system. It just needs, if you make it a system, it just becomes more efficient. If you don't have a system, you just need someone manually to draw that information in. It just makes it more real time. As AppFolio gets updated, our dashboards on Google Sheets work, and we're seeing, hey, we predominantly buy C-class value add assets. So tracking rent collections is important for us. What has the collections been? What's the occupancy look like? How is our CapEx projects moving forward, right? Well, how many leads did we get? How many visits did we have? How many people actually did put in an application? All of those metrics are tracked on dashboards for us. And it really helps us to manage property on a week by week basis, because, we're responsible towards our investors. We don't want an investor to look at something and say, hey, what's your CapEx progress look like? You said you'll basically do a whole remodel of the facade. So what is that looking like? So all of those, we could easily open Asana and look at our CapEx progress and see how much we spent and how much we've able to basically progress on those. So yeah.
So yeah, you said you're kind of using that for your CapEx projects and your construction and everything like that. That's also through Asana? You can kind of put everything in there and then be able to monitor as it goes along. Mm-hmm. That's great. That's a great system to have in place. I'm sure that makes things far more efficient, makes your meetings shorter, just gets everybody on the same page, because you effectively can have all that data right at your fingertips all the time.
Yep.
What about, have you guys had, I think you've had some sales, like taken some things full cycle?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And would you say that having these things in place helps you on the back end as well, as far as, getting ready to sell? You have essentially all of that you need right there already tracked, and you can, kind of put together your everything, I guess, that you need for a sale to the brokers, and then also to whoever these buyers might be, to find it helpful on that end as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having full cycle, having deals gone full cycle, I think helps with the story, right?
Yeah.
especially with investor confidence, looking at new investors, brokers' confidence, looking at deals. And as an individual, if you're having confidence, you know better to project numbers. Your underwriting gets better based on seeing what the market trends have led to that particular exit. I think there's a whole lot of things that improve better when you go through full cycle deals. And it's actually the one thing that we've seen is when you return money to investors, that feeling that you've done good for someone, or you've actually done your job, which you're actually assigned to or designated for, is something that you will really take for a long time. I think that's the most important thing, is the satisfaction that you get because you promised someone something and you fulfilled it. I think goes a long way in building your character too. So,
yeah, I'm sure that that makes total sense. I'm sure that is 100% true on all those aspects. Just your own confidence, investor confidence in you, that kind of thing. And I'm sure that is the case. Well, let me switch gears a little bit here and get to the part where I ask you the questions that I get to ask, sort of every guest. Mm-hmm. The first one, Kranti, is what is your why? It's obviously based on the name of the show, but kind of what drives you, what keeps you kind of pushing for this, obviously already at a very high level of success, but kind of what keeps you going?
My why honestly has evolved over time. When I first started my professional journey, I had a fear of failure. I was driven because of my humble beginnings. I had no option to fail. I was, in a sense, I had burnt my boats, and that led to me being always prepared and ready to succeed. That why has slowly shifted over the years. Now it's changed over the years. Now it's all about helping people. It's creating a positive impact, serving them in every way possible, especially being a resource in their quest for financial freedom, right? If I believe I can create a bigger impact for people by showing them a path where most people would have never been exposed to, which is investing in syndicated real estate. And that is basically my big why. A big part of it is because of my non-belief in the traditional stock market, 401ks, Roth IRAs, which I've seen perform for both myself and my employees and companies, where you're saving a small percent and then you anticipate that to sustain for 20, 30 years after retirement with an 8% return, average 8% return when your inflation is 8.6% this month or last month. It's just not doing it. So I think, that's the why that drives me towards real estate. And I believe everyone who's trying to do that, who's trying to get to a solution for retirement or for financial freedom or whatever it is, it could be your kid's college, needs to have real estate investing as part of their strategy. It is the best risk-adjusted return there is. So,
yeah, 100% agree. 100% agree. Tell us something about yourself that maybe isn't common knowledge, special skill, a hobby, whatever you're comfortable sharing.
I love hiking. I've hiked the Grand Canyon multiple times from rim to rim. I'm doing a rim to rim to rim, which is I think about 50 miles hike in September. I actually love running as well. So yeah.
That sounds amazing. I also enjoy hiking. I've never done the Grand Canyon though. That's 50 miles. How long do you think that'll take?
24 hours probably.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's not
or less.
I guess I would have guessed longer than that, but that's phenomenal. Very, very cool. When people hear this and they want to reach out, what's the best way for them to get hold of you? How would you like to be contacted?
They can reach out through my website, krantiponnam.com, or fouroakscapital.com, which is the real estate syndication company. My personal portfolio is serodacapital.com. All the social media channels, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all of those. So,
all right, great. And we'll get that in the show notes as well, so people have it. Final question for you, Kranti. What is a piece of advice you would give to someone who is trying to get started in real estate, trying to make their way, what would you tell them to kind of motivate them and help them, reach the level of success that you have?
I would tell someone who's getting into this space is one thing that's needed is consistent action and learning. Learning is absolutely important. People love attending seminars, love listening to podcasts. But what I've seen the amount of people compared to the amount of people that are in the industry and the people that are really successful, it's a small percentage. And I think what separates that small percentage is those who consistently take action in underwriting deals, making that extra connection, making that one extra broker interaction every day. Those are the things that really separate you from the competition that you have when you're doing deals. If you do a few more or one more compared to your competition, I'm sure your chances of success grow astronomically, and you pile that on a daily basis. I think it makes a big difference. And that's what I believe is the secret to being successful. Just taking action. Your strategy was great, but if you don't act on it, doesn't give you anything.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice. Education is important. You don't want to sort of go in blindly, but yeah, knowing what you can know beforehand is one thing, but really you're taking action and then learning on the go is really what's going to accelerate that process. And as you said, one action, one rep more, whatever it is, one more than your competition, or not even necessarily if you're not looking at it from a competition standpoint, just 1% better on yourself is going to be add up very quickly, over a short period of time. So I think that's a great piece of advice. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. I appreciate all that you've shared with us. And I think when people hear this, they'll be reaching out and excited to get to know you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jason. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Have a great day, everyone.
I'd like to show you why knowing your why is the start of your journey. Without a strong why, it can be so difficult to reach your maximum potential. My name is Dr. Jason Balara, and every week I meet with real estate investors and mindset specialists that are taking action in order to build a life according to their own terms. We will break down what drives successful people and allows them to achieve at such a high level. If you are a professional wanting to break through, or simply someone that wants to hear an inspiring story, the Know Your Why podcast is made for you.